guys. I don't see how most people is gonna be able to achieve that anymore. That is cooked. That was for our parents, not for us. Let's just keep it as stack bundles. Um,
which are going to greatly detract from how much money you're going to be able to save for retirement, which also could mean you'll be working until you die. So most people who are working and alive today almost have to choose between the two. Do you want to have the traditional lifestyle and have the family and have the house, or do you want to retire? Wow, take a look at this place. Sold back in 2019, pre-pandemic, for $4.2 million. Then they tried renting it for $40,000 a month. That didn't work out. Up the price to $60,000 a month. Then they listed it for sale for a whopping $10.2 million at the height of the market in 2022, have been steadily decreasing the price since then. And guess what? The latest price cut of $400K, that brings them down now to $8.6 million. So think about it, guys. Been trying to sell this house for 2.5 years and no one's biting. Imagine how much money it costs to hold on to a house this expensive those 2.5 years. Now we also have to face the reality of human nature, and people tend to procrastinate on issues like retirement because it's not an issue that's immediately in front of you. Retirement's a faraway scenario if you're a young adult, and it's very hard to even think about or consider this when you're young. Even myself, it's something I never really thought about seriously until I got closer to the age of 30, and then I realized, hey, I don't have anything saved for retirement either. I saw some videos like this and read some things like this back in my late 20s, coming up on 30. This is me. If I don't do something about this now, I may never be able to retire either. Really, the smartest people are the ones who start early, and start saving for retirement right in their early 20s, or even by the time they're 18. Those people almost have a guaranteed shot at retirement because you don't need to save that much for retirement when you're that young, because you have a much longer time horizon, so you can get away with saving less money over a longer period of time and still end up with a nice nest egg at the end.
Damn,
so
you really can't, time is crazy, bro. Really starting to been thinking about that a lot lately. That's one thing. You really can't get that shit back, bro. That is the most valuable asset for real. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's wild.
I definitely congratulate you if you're, in your early 20s and are already saving for retirement, because you're going to be ahead of pretty much everybody by the time you get to retirement age. But the fact of the matter is, people are wired to deal with problems today. People are wired now to have immediate gratification with everything. And also,
not to mention the cost of living and, that little fiasco, as well as the fact that wages stay the same. I mean, why would people even think about the future, bro? They only have the bandwidth to really only think about now. So, what is we even talking about? For real.
If you're struggling with money right now, you're thinking, oh, my car needs new tires next year. You're thinking, oh, I need to move to a new apartment next year too, because the place I live in now has roaches. Those are immediate problems. And you're not going to be thinking about how much money am I saving for retirement when you're dealing with pressing issues like that. But the problem is, the longer you wait, then the harder it is to catch up. For example, if you want to have $50,000 a year indefinitely in retirement, and you started saving when you're 20 years old, you only need to save $100 a month until you hit retirement age. That's it, $100 a month. And most people, as they get older, they end up saving and contributing more because your earnings go up and your disposable income goes up. So likely, if you're in this scenario, by the time you reach your 40s or 50s, you might be able to contribute $500-$600 a month to your retirement. And that'll just give you a bonus by the time you do retire. But the problem is, the longer you wait, the more you have to save. If you want that same $50K a year in retirement, if you wait to save until you're 30, now you got to contribute $300 a month. If you wait until you're 40 to start saving, now you have to contribute a whopping $800 a month. And with the median household income sitting between $75,000 and $80,000 a year, most people are not going to be able to contribute $800 a month to retirement if you wait until you're 40. Sure, you're going to have some people that earn a high income and never saved anything and realize later on, yeah, I need to catch up. And if you have that high income and you have the disposable income, it'll be much easier for somebody in that position to catch up. But that's really a chance you're taking that you're going to end up making significantly more money one day to catch up, which is yet another reason why most people will work until they die. But some people might get lucky, because the reality is that 20% of people will die at age 60 or younger. So you might not even need to have any money saved for retirement if that's you.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now they're saying the lucky ones. That's crazy, bro. In America, you're now a lucky one if you're one of the people who die early. Because you won't have to worry about a retirement. That's crazy work, bro. That's crazy, bro.
Know that the younger generation is giving up hope when it comes to having the traditional lifestyle of being able to buy a home and have a family and all that stuff. And sometimes they'll spend the money on travel and experiences instead, and at the same time they don't save for retirement. And here's the worst part. Even if you're responsible and you have been saving for retirement, you're doing everything right, you're doing it all by the book, you're contributing as much as you can, and you are seeing your investment grow, you know, a lot of people are expecting the same or similar results that we have seen with the stock market over the past several decades, and hope that that scenario is going to repeat itself into future decades. What people earned in the past and what we've seen in past returns may not end up materializing in the future. Of course, you can look at a year like this and say, wow, 2024 was an excellent year for the stock market, so as long as we keep having more years like that, I'll be set. But there's no guarantee of that. That's the problem. Doesn't mean you're going to have 30 more years of growth like this. But even if you are saving for retirement, you could end up in a situation where you did everything right, but you might not have enough money to live the lifestyle you were hoping for a few different reasons. You know, inflation could be so much higher by the time you retire that even if you do have a nice nest egg by then, it's just not really enough to actually live off of like you thought it was going to be. There's a lot of people who are going into this situation right now because of how much inflation has gone up. You might also end up living a lot longer than you anticipated and end up outliving your savings, which is definitely a nightmare scenario for a retiree. And you also have to look at the fact that a good chunk of Americans today are living far beyond their means, and it's very obvious due to how much credit card debt we've seen pile up over the past couple of years. We just saw the credit card debt hit 1.17 trillion with no sign of slowing down, which indicates that people are spending far more than they earn, and they're using credit cards and...
Hold up, chat. Isn't there a national debt calculator? Let's look it up. Okay. Ooh, whoa, this is a little complex. So is this the total right here? So the national public outstanding represents the face amount of principal amount of marketable and non-remarkable securities currently outstanding. So we are looking at 36 trillion. Is that a trillion? So that's 564 million, 274 billion, 36 trillion. Okay. Whoa, the U.S. really is just a big business. For real. It's just a massive business. It's just a massive business operation. That's wild. Let me see if there's some other joints. That's the worldometer. Yikes. When did the debt start going up a ton? What do you know? Right after we left the gold standard. What do you know? When fiat became a thing. What do you know? Exponentially increase. When we started printing. Ay. That's wild.
Home equity to subsidize their lavish lifestyle. The problem is that will come to an end, and it will be a disastrous end for many. People today are also taking part in much riskier investments that people in the past just never had access to. You have a lot of young people today investing in cryptocurrencies no one's ever even heard of. You know, Bitcoin obviously is probably the only real cryptocurrency that's probably going to be worth anything one day. I could be wrong, but based on everything I know about crypto, that seems to be the case right now. But people are pouring money in all kinds of stupid things, are like a one-off and a long shot, hoping to get rich off of that.
How do you know they stupid though, bro? How you know they stupid? And you already wrong too by saying Bitcoin's gonna be the only thing that's gonna be around. So you're saying all the other major cap altcoins don't have some real life utility? You don't know what you're talking about.
So investing in riskier hedge funds and riskier stock market portfolios, and they're buying in at higher and higher prices, expecting the returns to just go on forever. That's not really a great investment strategy either. Now, a lot of people today are investing like it's playing the lottery or something, you know? I'm probably never gonna have enough to retire anyways, so let's take the chance on something and hope I get lucky. It's just like buying a lottery ticket. I've seen other people get lucky and get rich off of this, so I might too. But the problem is most people end up getting burned and lose most of their money and don't actually win the lottery. And you can even go too far in the opposite direction where you save and invest too much for retirement. Then you run into major life expenses you weren't expecting, and you have to sell off a lot of your investments. Selling early can also come with steep penalties and taxes that you weren't expecting to pay, and you can also end up having to sell at a time when the market is down, which means that you're selling at a significant loss. So you really have to be calculated and balance out that you're not saving too much either. Another reason that a lot of people will work until they die is because saving for retirement isn't fun and exciting. You know, it's very slow, takes a long time, and it's very boring. And in this instant gratification society, that's not a very appealing thing to do. You know, that summer vacation to Europe when you're 22 looks a lot better than putting a couple $1,000s into your 401k. And having
100%. I guess it's just a mix of balancing out, you know, your lived experiences versus actually just planning for the unexpected, you know, at the end of the day. It's always a balance, but at the end of the day, like, who's really good at the balancing act anyways, man? I feel like most people either go one way right or one way left, like too hard, or one way right too hard. Like, I don't feel like most people really could, you know, get that balancing act down, but I don't know. It's just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents.
Going into 2025 is a very difficult thing to have, basically due to the macroeconomic situation once again. You know, we're in a situation where you're seeing a ton of layoffs, right? There's people losing jobs left and right, thousands and thousands of people losing jobs. At the same time, you have companies that are not hiring anymore. A lot of the jobs numbers that we've seen over the past year have been completely faked. And on top of that, people used to keep the same job for their whole life. You know, they work 30, 40, 50 years at a company and have that stability. And now you don't have that anymore. A lot of people are just chasing one opportunity to the next. A lot of people are in between jobs because you get a good job, you think you're doing great, next thing you know, you're laid off and you have to deal with that. That's a form of stability that people used to have that they really don't anymore. People need to navigate this horrible jobs market in order to try to stay ahead of the game, which can be very difficult, if not impossible. And every time you find a good job, you get a salary you're happy with, and you might not be able to keep that job for very long until you're on the hunt for another one. And in a volatile situation like that, without stability, it makes it very difficult to save for retirement. You know, in order for you to be saving for the future, you need to feel like everything today is okay. Everything today is taken care of. So when you get fired or laid off unexpectedly and you have expenses that also come up unexpectedly, this will throw you off track quite a bit. And here's another thing that people need to realize. You know, up until now, when I'm referencing retirement, pretty much referencing the traditional method of retirement where people will invest in the stock market over a period of about 40 years and then have a nest egg saved up to retire. That's the most traditional and common way people have been taught to save for retirement. But of course, there's other ways to do it. One other way that has gained a lot of popularity over the recent years and have made it look so easy has been real estate investing, where basically you buy enough properties and you're making enough money monthly in rental income where you have endless retirement money in that situation. Way before that ever became a popular thing on the internet, that was actually my retirement plan. But as I've gotten older and have been a landlord for many years, I've kind of given that idea a second thought, because the reality is that's a very difficult retirement, because you're going to have a lot of problems that come up and a lot of things you have to deal with as a landlord. Even if you have property managers handling a lot of it for you, you're going to have a lot of headaches. There's a lot of responsibility, and it can be a lot of unexpected expenses that come up with that as well. And when you're in your 70s or 80s and beyond, you might not want to deal with that. So another way that I kind of look at it now is a different way you could use real estate to retire. One of my financial goals is to own a second home in California so I can spend my summers there in the future without renting. And so if I get to a retirement age and I have another house there, I have another house here, I have another house somewhere else, well, now all of a sudden I have 3 houses, and if all 3 of those houses are worth $1 million, I could sell those houses, and even if I had nothing saved for retirement, now all of a sudden I have $3 million for retirement. So that's another way to go about it as well. And the reality is, having $3 million all of a sudden because you offloaded your real estate is more money than most people will ever have from saving in the stock market. So you just have to look outside the box and think that there are more ways to go about saving for retirement, and retirement doesn't have to look the same for everyone. And one of the best parts I like about this idea I mentioned here is, if say you own multiple properties, you get to use and enjoy those properties. You can rent them out for supplemental income to help with carrying costs along the way.
All right, I think we get the point here. Let's see what the hell this comment is talking about. Damn, all right, bet. So, this first comment here. I'm a truck driver, not because it's glamorous, but because I live in the truck and almost have no bills. I'm saving north of 90% of every check. It's the company truck, so I pay no maintenance or fuel. I have no vehicle. I have no rent or mortgage. It's the only way I could figure out to maybe one day have a chance. Everyone is in big trouble. They just don't realize it yet. Damn. Shall we continue? Is it just me, or is the world getting shittier and shittier every year? Damn. No, you will not work until you die. Your company will find some way to get rid of you so they can hire someone younger at a cheaper salary. Damn. Politicians are definitely not for the people. Yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, whoever commented that. Elfin. As a Gen X, my folks taught me nothing about retirement, nor did the school system. Yeah, the school system doesn't really teach you anything. Okay. Retirement is a new concept in the last 75 years. Most people worked until they can't. That is true. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like there's benefits of continuing to work until you die too. I'm not gonna lie, like actually like doing stuff. There's benefits, but I mean, yeah. But and then at the same time, it's like that's only under the pretense that you actually enjoy working. That's something you just like to do, which most people probably don't fall into that. So I'd assume that that's not the case for most. Politicians make sure they have enough money to retire because of all the under the table deals they made with interest groups. I'm not too familiar with interest groups and how that really works. Is that when like people take surveys, or where they pay people to take surveys just to like skew results and studies and stuff? That's what I'd assume. Let me know, chat. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic that they're going to get $69,000 a year, but they can't do anything to help people in Social Security. I don't understand that comment. Maybe I'm slow. Regular humans dominated by rich corporations. I pay off my house 7 years ago. Now I have $700 property tax a month. I drive an old car that I paid 9 years ago. and I pay $130 a month. Insurance and more will pay to the end of our life to face list organizations. Yeah, so the life insurance and then the property tax, unfortunately, yeah, you're going to have to still pay that. If you're in a state, I don't know if there's states without property tax or is it income tax. Is there a state that doesn't have property tax, or is it